My birthday was supposed to be a celebration, but instead, it became the day my family tried to strip me of everything I had worked for, handing my house to my younger sister as if it were a casual afterthought, as if I were nothing more than a supporting character in a story where she was the star. What they didn't realize was that I had already secured my future, that while they had been making plans to push me aside, I had been quietly ensuring they would never succeed. I had spent years being the responsible one, the dutiful daughter who shouldered the weight of the family business while Issa, my younger sister, lived like an Instagram celebrity, flaunting luxury as if it were a birthright rather than something earned. While she paraded around in designer outfits, jet-setting to exclusive destinations, and curating an online image of effortless wealth, I spent my days immersed in contracts, financial reports, and expansion strategies, working tirelessly to uphold the boutique hotel empire our father, Robert Sutton, had built from the ground up. My dedication was unwavering, my sacrifices constant, and yet, none of it seemed to matter. My father had always preached discipline and hard work to me, reminding me that success demanded sacrifices, that nothing worth having came easy. Yet when it came to Issa, those rules never applied. She's young, let her enjoy life. She'll mature eventually. My mother, Margaret, would say dismissively whenever I questioned Issa's spending habits, as if indulgence was something that would eventually burn itself out. But Issa never matured. Even at 25, she lived under our parents' roof with no responsibilities beyond crafting an illusion of influence on social media, a glamorous image entirely funded by the same business I was tirelessly running. For years, I told myself that my time would come, that my father would eventually recognize my value, my dedication, and my role as the future leader of the company. I ignored the favoritism, the double standards, the way my accomplishments were expected while Issa's smallest efforts were celebrated. I pushed forward, managing 3 of our most successful hotels, ensuring that our family's empire remained profitable and prestigious. I worked 12-hour days, sacrificed weekends, canceled vacations, and poured everything I had into making sure our brand thrived. But all of that changed the day I met Liam, our new financial advisor. He was sharp, meticulous, and unafraid to ask the hard questions I had never thought to ask myself. One afternoon, he walked into my office, his expression unusually serious, and shut the door behind him. "Iris," he said, placing a thick stack of papers on my desk, "I've been reviewing the accounts from the past 5 years. Did you know your sister has spent over $2 million of company funds?" The world around me seemed to slow. I stared at him, unable to comprehend what he had just said. "What?" I breathed, my fingers tightening around the edge of my desk. Liam pushed the documents toward me. Every transaction was meticulously recorded. Luxury vacations disguised as business trips, designer shopping sprees listed as market research, extravagant parties filed under brand engagement. "She claims she's the brand's social media image," Liam explained, his jaw tightening. I felt my stomach twist. This wasn't a careless mistake. It was deliberate, premeditated, and worst of all, sanctioned. That night, I confronted my father, expecting anger, expecting shock, expecting some kind of decisive action. But instead, his response left me cold. He didn't even look surprised. "I know, Iris," he said simply, removing his reading glasses and pinching the bridge of his nose. "I approve those expenses." My breath caught. "You what?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "You have your way of contributing to the company, and she has hers," he said with an air of finality, as if the discussion was already over, as if my years of dedication were no more significant than Issa's influencer lifestyle. At that moment, something inside me broke. For years, I had worked tirelessly, hoping to earn my father's respect, his validation, his acknowledgement that I was the one who would carry his legacy forward. But I finally understood. He had never seen me that way. No matter how much I proved myself, no matter how much I built and protected this company, I would never be the daughter who mattered. Liam became my confidant, my silent ally, as we quietly documented every irregularity, every questionable decision, every blatant misuse of funds. The deeper we dug, the worse it became. And then we found something even more alarming. One evening, Liam sat across from me, his expression unreadable as he slid another set of documents toward me. "They're drafting paperwork to transfer your house to Issa." I felt the air leave my lungs. "My house?" I whispered. "The one I bought with my own money?" Liam's jaw clenched. "Technically, they're arguing that it was purchased with your company's salary, which means it was a corporate gift. And corporate gifts can be reassigned." A slow, suffocating rage built inside me. My home, the one place that was truly mine, the one thing I had built for myself, separate from them, was about to be handed away as if I were nothing more than a placeholder. I had worked for that house. I had earned it. And now, with a single stroke of a pen, they thought they could take it from me? That night, I didn't sleep. But I didn't break down, and I didn't panic. I planned. My 28th birthday arrived, and with it, the moment of truth. My family threw a grand party at our parents' estate, a dazzling event filled with extended family, business partners, and board members. It was a celebration of success, of prestige, at least on the surface. But beneath the glittering chandeliers and flowing champagne, a storm was brewing. As the evening progressed, Issa stood up, a crystal champagne flute in her hand, her smile radiant, her voice carrying through the room with practiced confidence. "I have a special announcement," she declared, flashing a dazzling grin at the gathered guests. "My father has given me the most incredible gift, my sister's house." A hush fell over the room, a brief, stunned silence before applause broke out. My mother beamed with pride. My father's gaze carefully avoided mine, and Issa, oblivious to the tension, basked in the moment as if she had just been crowned queen. "Isn't it wonderful?" she continued, her voice dripping with self-satisfaction. "Since Iris is always at the office, she doesn't really need such a big house. I'll put it to better use." I stood up slowly, my heart pounding, but my mind was clear. "You're right, Issa," I said, my voice cutting through the applause like a blade. "I am always at the office." I reached into my handbag and pulled out a thick folder. "And since we're making announcements, I have one of my own." The room fell into an uneasy silence, all eyes turning to me. Issa was still smiling, completely unaware of the storm about to hit her. I met her gaze, my expression unreadable, then turned to the gathered business partners, board members, and extended family. "As CEO and majority shareholder of our boutique hotel company, I have a few important updates," I said, my voice firm, steady. I watched as Issa's smile faltered. My father sat up straighter and my mother's expression tensed. "First," I continued, "effective immediately, all personal expenses will require board approval, not just the president's signature." Issa's face paled. My father's jaw tightened. "Second, I have initiated a full audit of the company's financial records for the past 5 years." My gaze locked onto Issa's. "That includes all marketing expenditures related to social media." The room was silent, thick with tension. And this was only the beginning. Carefully measured, darkened in a way I had never seen before. My mother reached out instinctively, placing a hand on his arm as if she could hold back the eruption that was bound to follow. I let the silence linger, let it stretch until the discomfort became unbearable. And then, slowly, deliberately, I placed the thick folder onto the grand dining table. the sharp slap of paper against mahogany ringing through the stunned quiet. Inside this folder, I continued, my voice even, are detailed records of every single unauthorized transaction made in the company's name. Lavish vacations disguised as brand expansion efforts, luxury shopping sprees masquerading as market research, and an unfathomable amount of money funneled into private accounts under the guise of business development. My gaze never left Isa's as I spoke, watching as her carefully constructed poise began to crumble. Her fingers tightened around the stem of her champagne flute, knuckles turning white. "Iris, that's enough," my father said, his voice low but sharp, a warning disguised as authority. But he no longer held any authority over me. Not anymore. "No, Dad," I countered, standing my ground. "Enough was when you let this happen. Enough was when you turned a blind eye to Isa draining the company like her personal piggy bank. Enough was when you tried to take my house, the home I built for myself, just to indulge her whims." I turned to face the gathered investors, board members, and extended family, my heart pounding but my resolve unwavering. As CEO, I have already taken steps to prevent this kind of corruption from happening again. Effective immediately, all financial accounts are under my direct oversight, and Isa will be expected to repay every cent she took from the company. A sharp gasp echoed from my sister. "You can't do that," she burst out, her voice shrill with disbelief. "Dad, tell her she can't do that." I turned my gaze back to my father, challenging him. "Can't I?" I asked, tilting my head. "Because I can. I already have." Liam, who had remained silent beside me until now, finally stepped forward, his presence a quiet but powerful reinforcement. "The documents have already been processed, the financial holds are in place, and should anyone attempt to bypass these restrictions, legal action will follow." Isa's face drained of color. "You wouldn't," she whispered, shaking her head, eyes darting between me and our father. She was waiting for him to intervene, to undo what I had done. But he said nothing. For the first time, Robert Sutton, the man who had built an empire, found himself outmaneuvered by his own daughter. The guests around us shifted uncomfortably, some whispering among themselves, others watching in fascinated horror as the Sutton family's pristine illusion shattered before their eyes. "You've humiliated us," my mother hissed, barely able to contain her fury. "On your birthday, no less." I let out a humorless laugh. "You were planning to steal my house and gift it to Isa on my birthday, and I'm the one humiliating the family?" I shook my head. "No, Mother. What's humiliating is how far you were willing to go for a daughter who never lifted a finger for this family's legacy, while ignoring the one who actually built it." My mother's nostrils flared, but she didn't refute me. Isa's fury, however, was another beast entirely. "You think you've won, don't you?" she spat, stepping toward me, her voice trembling with rage. "You think taking away my money, my access, is going to change anything?" Her lips curled into a sneer. "You're still the boring, overlooked workaholic sister, and I will always be the one people adore." I took a slow step closer, my voice calm but unyielding. "Enjoy your adoration while it lasts, Isa, because soon everyone will see you for what you really are. A spoiled fraud who contributed nothing and took everything." I tilted my head slightly. "And with no more access to the company's funds, let's see how long you last in that influencer lifestyle of yours." For the first time, genuine fear flickered across her face, because she knew I was right. Without our family's wealth to prop up her carefully crafted illusion, she was nothing. The parties, the clothes, the travel, all of it had been bought with money she never earned. And now, it was gone. My father exhaled heavily, standing from his chair. "This is a disaster," he muttered under his breath, rubbing a hand over his temple as if he could physically erase the chaos unfolding before him. "Iris, You don't understand the consequences of what you've done. Oh, I understand perfectly, I cut in smoothly. I understand that for the first time, you're facing consequences for enabling Issa's recklessness. I understand that you expected me to roll over and accept whatever scraps you decided I was worth. I took another step closer, lowering my voice so only he could hear. But most of all, I understand now that I never needed your approval. I built this empire, and I will not let you or anyone else ruin it for the sake of one selfish child. A long silence stretched between us. My father, Robert Sutton, the man who had always controlled every aspect of his world, finally looked at me and realized he had lost. The night ended in silence. Issa fled the party in a storm of anger and humiliation. My mother refused to meet my gaze, and my father, for the first time in his life, looked uncertain. In the days that followed, the fallout was swift. Issa's accounts were frozen. She screamed, she threatened, she threw tantrums. But none of it changed the reality that she had to answer for what she had done. The board backed me, seeing me as the only capable leader to protect their investments. My father, though furious, had no choice but to accept the new order of things. And as for my house, it remained exactly where it belonged, with me. On the morning after my birthday, I stood by the grand windows of my home, sipping my coffee, watching the sunrise. For the first time in years, I felt truly free. I had spent my life chasing my father's validation, sacrificing everything to be seen as worthy. But I didn't need his approval anymore. I had built this life on my own, and I would protect it with everything I had. Liam arrived later that morning, leaning against the doorway with a smirk. "You really burned the whole kingdom down, huh?" I smiled, exhaling slowly, feeling the weight of the past finally lift. "No," I said, setting my cup down. "I just took back what was already mine." And with that, I turned away from the past, stepping forward into a future that was finally, completely my own.